He spots an alien woman drowning. What he does next is pure genius. Rook's boots skidded on the slick stone. The river had always looked calm from a distance, a lazy silver ribbon threading through the canyon. But now it roared like a living beast, churning foam and spray into the gray sky. Then came the crack, a sharp, metallic echo against rock. He froze, heart hammering, ears straining. There it was again, crack, crash, something alive, something breaking, something sinking. He spotted her first in flashes. Silver hair, glinting in the weak sunlight. Blue skin, slick with water. A body half submerged, limbs flailing, being dragged under by the river's relentless pull. Her eyes, wide, alien silver, scanned the surface before going under, swallowed by foam. Rook's hands clenched. No rope, no pack, no chance of a traditional rescue. Half a minute, that's all the time he had. Any hesitation and she would die. He scanned the river, looking past instinct and panic. He didn't fight it. He calculated. The current twisted around boulders like living snakes. Head-on would kill him in seconds. So he ran along the bank, picking up loose stones, shards of fallen cliff, and started tossing them into the torrent. A boulder here, a broken ledge there. The water hissed and twisted, but a shallow shelf formed, barely enough to stop her from vanishing completely. "Hold on!" he shouted, lunging with both hands to grab her forearm as she slammed against stone. Her body was limp with exhaustion, lungs screaming for air. He pulled with every ounce of strength, the river clawing at his legs, threatening to drag them both in. She coughed violently, silver hair plastered across her face, and gasped, Why help me?" "Because hesitation kills," Rook said, not letting go. "And I can't." The river spat them onto a dry ledge. Mud coated them both. Gasping, shivering, Rook dragged her further from the water's edge, steadying her. She looked at him, chest rising and falling rapidly. "I was done. I wanted it to end." "I don't care," he snapped, voice low, sharp. "You're alive. That's enough." They stayed there for a long moment, the river's roar in their ears. Then she finally spoke. "Lyran." "Rook," he replied, his voice tight. Her gaze lingered on him, assessing, alien eyes scanning every line, every scar on his face. She didn't ask more questions. She didn't need to. The climb out of the canyon was worse than the river. Wet stones, loose gravel, jagged edges, all ready to take a life at the slightest misstep. Rook led, steadying her by the arm, bracing her against sudden slips. Every move, every glance was a calculation. Her strength was failing, muscles trembling. "Slow down," he said. "One step at a time." Lyran's lips pressed together, nodding, her eyes on the swirling river below. "You don't leave." "I don't," he said, though he wanted to. Rules had always told him to drift, never stay, never care. But he didn't move. Not for her. Not this time. Hours passed. Sun dipped low. They found a hollow at the canyon rim, just big enough to shelter from the wind. Rook tore a strip of his coat and bound a deep cut on her shoulder. She flinched but didn't pull away. Every gesture, every touch was a quiet conversation. "You saved me," she said again, voice weak. "I didn't think anyone would." "I act when necessary," he replied. "Nothing more, nothing less." Lyran studied him in silence, watching the fire sparks rise into the sky. For the first time, Rook didn't retreat into himself. He stayed, watched, waited. Night brought frost and danger. Wolves or worse scavengers prowled below. The canyon echoed with distant roars. Rook stayed awake, listening, adjusting the fire, keeping Lyran close. Her breaths were shallow, her body still fragile. "Tell me your story," she said finally, voice barely audible. "I don't," he said. Silence, then. "Not yet." The stars were strange above, cold and sharp. Lyran's eyes reflected them, glimmering silver in the firelight. She leaned against him briefly, seeking warmth, finding none in words but in presence. Morning came with a thin haze. The canyon was merciless, but survival had given them a strange advantage. Lyran's movements were steadier, though still cautious. Rook kept an eye on every rock, every ripple of wind. The river had nearly killed her, but it also gave them clarity. The canyon demanded focus, cunning, cooperation. They traveled side by side. Rook found broken bridges, slick ledges, and twisted trees blocking paths. Every time he devised a solution, a lever of rock here, a fallen branch there. Lyran followed his lead, learning, helping, recovering. "Why stay?" she asked once, watching him roll a boulder into a rushing stream to divert it from a precarious path. "I don't want to leave," he admitted, voice tight. "Not this time." Her alien eyes widened. A smile, a small, cautious curve, appeared. "Then stay," she whispered. They continued, moving faster now, their trust building silently. No words needed for the bond forming through exhaustion, survival, and shared danger. By midday, the river slowed slightly, but the canyon walls narrowed into a brutal funnel. The water boiled over submerged rocks, creating deadly whirlpools. Lyran nearly fell, but Rook caught her by the arm, yanking her out of the water's pull. "Hold on," he shouted. The words were almost drowned by the roar. Her silver hair plastered to her face, eyes wide with fear and adrenaline. "I can't. Keep going." "You can," he said. "And you will. Trust me." The next hour was a blur of stone, river, and narrow escapes. Each step was life or death, each glance a silent acknowledgement of the danger. They survived by inches, driven by instinct and mutual trust. Finally, the canyon widened. The river calmed to a sluggish silver ribbon. Exhausted, mud-streaked, they collapsed on a plateau above the water. Rook scanned the horizon. No immediate threats, just jagged cliffs and the fading river. Lyran breathed heavily, staring at the expanse below. "I owe you my life," she said, voice trembling. "You don't," Rook replied, softer now. "You owe yourself. Surviving is enough." They sat in silence, watching the river. The canyon had tested them, nearly killed them, but also taught them something neither expected. Connection wasn't a weakness. Rook packed minimal gear. Lyran moved cautiously, her strength slowly returning. For the first time in years, he didn't feel the pull to drift away. The rules of survival had changed. He glanced at her. "Ready?" She nodded. "Ready." They descended the plateau together. Every step forward a quiet triumph over fear, over loss, over what they had both endured. The canyon roared behind them. The river foamed below. Two strangers, different worlds, scarred and weary, had survived the impossible. And for Rook, that was enough. For the first time in years, he stayed. Because some choices weren't about rules or survival, they were about humanity. And sometimes, just sometimes, that was genius enough.